He's just background noise, my sister Olivia said, nudging a sweating water glass toward my son while her daughters confidently ordered $120 Wagyu steaks. Mom nodded in agreement. Lucas needs to understand his place. I smiled softly and said, noted. When the chef stepped out from the kitchen a few minutes later, I felt the blood quietly drain from my face. I turned toward Lucas. He had folded into himself. That's the only way I can describe it. His shoulders curved inward, his spine bending as if he could physically reduce the space he occupied. His eyes were fixed on the blank stretch of white tablecloth in front of him, the place where a dinner plate should have been. He was 14, and my sister had just labeled him background noise. My mother, Sarah, made no attempt to soften it. She didn't correct Olivia. She didn't murmur an apology. Instead, she leaned forward, her pearl necklace tapping faintly against the bowl of her wine glass before she set it down with deliberate care. Olivia is right, Brooke, she said calmly, reasonably. Which somehow made it crueler. Lucas needs to understand his place at a dinner like this. His place. The words lingered above the table like smoke, dense, cutting. I know what you're thinking. Why didn't you stand up? Why didn't you grab your son and walk out? Why didn't you finally explode? I wish I had. God, I wish I had. But unless you've lived inside it, you don't understand what it does to you. When you grow up being told, quietly, repeatedly, that your voice carries less weight, eventually you stop offering it. It becomes easier to swallow words than to release them. It's a learned stillness. A cage without visible bars, constructed from decades of subtle corrections, raised eyebrows, comparisons, and being measured against someone who always came out taller. It's built from holidays where you're the afterthought, birthdays where your gift is smaller, dinners where your opinion is politely ignored. After enough years, you stop shaking the cage. You learn resistance only brings consequences. You learn that survival at family gatherings requires invisibility. Nod, smile, swallow the burn climbing your throat. My silence wasn't surrender. It was scar tissue, 38 years of it, so I gave the smallest nod, barely a tilt of my chin. Lucas lifted his plain water glass and took a cautious sip. He wouldn't meet my eyes. He was humiliated, and I was ashamed. Jenna, our server, returned. Her gaze flicked to Lucas's empty place setting, then to me. I saw the sympathy flash across her face, and somehow that hurt more than Olivia's contempt. She began pouring the wine, a bottle priced at $150. She filled my mother's glass first, then Olivia's. Then mine, even the twins, Chloe and Kayla, received sparkling cider in tall, slender champagne flutes that caught the candlelight. Lucas's short water glass remained unchanged. The bread basket arrived next, an artful spread of focaccia, crusty sourdough, and warm breadsticks glistening with butter. Olivia intercepted it immediately. She offered it first to her daughters, then to my mother, and finally positioned it at her end of the table, strategically out of reach. Lucas stared at it. He's growing. He's always hungry. Moms, he whispered so softly I almost missed it. Can I have some bread? Before I could answer, Olivia chimed in brightly. Oh, Lucas, don't fill up on bread. You're not ordering anything, remember? Sarah gave a tight, pleased smile and tore off a delicate piece of focaccia. This was my family, and I sat there motionless, conditioned. Frozen by decades of rehearsal, but beneath that numbness, something unfamiliar began to form. It wasn't blazing anger, it was colder than that, quieter, and it was keeping score. My mother tapped her manicured nail against her wine glass. The sharp ping cut cleanly through the restaurant's low murmur. If I could have everyone's attention, she announced, beaming toward Olivia and the twins, I'd like to say a few words. She lifted her glass of $150 Chardonnay like a queen addressing her court. This was her arena. To my daughter Olivia, she began, her voice glowing with pride, who has always understood ambition. Who has built a beautiful life, a beautiful family, and raised two exceptional daughters. She smiled at Chloe and Kayla. We are so proud that you girls are following in your mother's footsteps. Getting into the best schools, setting high goals, it proves what can happen when you have drive, when you refuse to settle for less. Her eyes flicked to me for half a second, long enough. The message landed. To the girls, she finished brightly. The table erupted in applause and clinking glasses. Lucas and I did not lift ours. No cider had been poured for him. No celebratory refill for me. As the glasses collided and laughter swelled, a realization crystallized inside me. I used to think it was simple favoritism, that I was just less charming. Less impressive, less something, but it's deeper than that. It's a script. Every member of this family has a role. There's a name for it, the golden child and the black sheep dynamic. Olivia is the golden child. She can do no wrong. She's the embodiment of family pride. Her achievements aren't individual, they're communal trophies, but every spotlight requires contrast. To make light look brilliant, you need shadow. That shadow is me. My role isn't merely to be overlooked, it's to provide comparison. My perceived shortcomings, my quiet life, my struggles as a single mother, my refusal to perform serve as the measuring stick that makes Olivia shine brighter. I wasn't forgotten, I was necessary. Because if I also succeeded, who would she outshine? Brooke, aren't you going to toast? My mother asked sweetly, her smile brittle. I raised my water glass. To family, I said. Olivia laughed a light, tinkling sound and turned back to discuss new school uniforms with her daughters. The moment dissolved. The show was complete. Lucas and I faded back into the scenery. Jenna returned carrying 4 heavy plates. The scent of seared beef and truffle butter drifted across the table. She placed the $120 strip steaks in front of Sarah, Olivia, Chloe, and Kayla. Perfectly charred, resting atop roasted vegetables, then nothing. She glanced at Lucas, an almost imperceptible apology in her eyes before moving away. My family began eating. Oh, this is incredible, Olivia sighed. It melts in your mouth. Absolutely divine, my mother agreed. I didn't watch them, I watched Lucas. He was shrinking again, trying to disappear into the wood grain of the table. His knuckles were white around his water glass. His lower lip trembled just slightly, but I saw it. My 14-year-old son was fighting tears because his own family had decided he didn't deserve dinner. That was the moment. The invisible chain I had worn for 38 years, the one forged from be polite, don't cause trouble, know your place, didn't crack. It disintegrated. The numbness I had mistaken for resilience evaporated. What remained wasn't rage, it was something colder, focused, deliberate. I had accepted being the black sheep. I had swallowed the scraps. I had endured the dismissal, but they weren't just doing it to me anymore. They were doing it to him, and that was a boundary they didn't get to cross. I lifted my gaze and scanned the dining room. And there he was, Chef Kenneth, my head chef. He was making his usual 8 o'clock rounds, immaculate in his white jacket, stopping at tables, greeting regulars, ensuring everything met his standards. He hadn't reached us yet. He was 2 tables away, chatting with a couple celebrating an anniversary. At our table, my mother was laughing at something Olivia had said. They were insulated inside their world, the one where they dictated value and I absorbed it. My pulse was steady. I felt terrifyingly calm. I knew exactly what I was about to do. I had spent my entire life being quiet. It was time to speak. I lifted my hand. "Excuse me, Chef Kenneth," I called, my voice clear and unwavering. It sliced cleanly through their laughter. The table went rigid. Olivia's fork paused midair. "Brooke," my mother hissed, eyes flashing. "What are you doing? Don't you dare cause a scene." Kenneth turned. Polite professionalism shifted to confusion and then recognition. "Would you join us for a moment?" I asked evenly. He began walking toward our table. My family stared at me in horror. They thought I was about to complain about the bread. They thought I was about to embarrass them. They had no idea. Kenneth approached, his expression attentive. "Mrs. Foster," he said warmly. "Is there a problem with your table? Is the service not to your liking?" The silence was so complete I could hear ice settling in my mother's glass. "Mrs. Foster," Olivia repeated faintly, glancing between us. "Brooke, who is this?" my mother demanded. "Why is he calling you that?" I offered Kenneth a small, composed smile. "The service is wonderful, Kenneth. Thank you. Jenna has been perfect." I turned to my family. "I just wanted to formally introduce you. This is my mother, Sarah. My sister Olivia, my nieces Chloe and Kayla." They all stared completely bewildered. "I'm sorry," Sarah said, forcing a laugh. "I think there's a misunderstanding. This is my daughter, Brooke." "Oh, there's no misunderstanding, Mom," I said. "Chef Kenneth knows exactly who I am. He should. He's my head chef. I'm the owner of Vesperine." The silence that followed was heavier, colder than anything I had ever experienced. Olivia's fork, the one loaded with a $120 piece of steak, clattered onto her plate. Chloe and Kayla just stared their mouths open. "You what?" Olivia whispered. "I own it," I said simply. "All of it. The building, the business, the inventory, and the kitchen. Jenna, our server, she's my employee. Chef Kenneth, he reports to me. This whole celebration, you're having it in my restaurant." My mother's face was chalk white. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. That's not possible. You work in an office." "I do. My restaurant group has an office. That's where I run the operations for this place and the 2 other restaurants I own downtown." I let that sink in. I watched them all trying to recalibrate, trying to process this new reality. But I wasn't finished. You know, Mom, I said, my voice dangerously soft. I was surprised when Olivia said she'd booked Vasperine. Out of all the restaurants in the city, she picked this one. Or maybe you just forgot what Sarah whispered, her eyes darting around. Forgot what this place is. I pointed to a quiet, empty table in the corner, the one by the window with the best view. That's where Dad brought me. The only time he ever took me out to a truly fancy dinner. He saved for 6 months to celebrate my college graduation because he was the only one who thought it was a big deal. I looked right at my mother. I told you about it. You said it was sweet, but a waste of money. You and Olivia didn't come. I could feel my voice getting stronger. He sat right there at that table and told me he was proud of me. He said, "You're the one who sees things differently, Brooke. That's your gift. Don't ever let them make you feel small for it." I leaned in. When he died, he left me $20,000. It wasn't much, but it was everything he had. I used it to start my first small food cart. And when that succeeded, I bought another. And when I'd saved enough, the very first thing I did was buy this restaurant. My mother's hand was over her mouth. This isn't just a business, Mom. This is his legacy, the one I built to honor the only person in this family who ever saw me at all. And tonight you came into his house and you called his grandson background noise. I turned away from my mother's gaping, speechless face. I looked back at the table, back at my son, who was still sitting there frozen next to my half-eaten cold bread roll. My gaze found Chef Kenneth. He was watching me, his expression unreadable, waiting. I gave him a calm, level nod. "Kenneth," I said, my voice perfectly even. "My son Lucas hasn't eaten yet. He was overlooked. During the main course, could you please take care of that for me?" "Right away, Mrs. Foster," he said. "What would he like?" I looked at Lucas. His eyes were wide and still shining with unshed tears. "Sweetheart, what do you want?" He swallowed, his voice barely a whisper. The steak," I confirmed to Kenneth, my voice ringing with a clarity that felt new. "The $120 Wagyu strip. And please add the truffle butter enhancement. Oh, and a large side of your truffle Parmesan fries and the molten chocolate cake for dessert when he's ready, whatever he wants. Put it all on my personal house account." "Of course, ma'am," Kenneth said. He gave Lucas a small, respectful nod and turned toward the kitchen. He understood this wasn't just a food order. It was a correction, a rebalancing of the ledger. As Kenneth walked away, I turned to Jenna, the server, who was standing nearby, holding an empty water pitcher like a shield. "Jenna," I said, my voice just as calm, "you can bring the check for this table now." Their check. That's when the real panic hit them. "The check," Olivia stammered, her hand flying to her throat. "Brooke. No, you can't be serious." "Why not?" I asked. "This is your celebration. You booked the table. You ordered the wine. But the bill, that bottle of wine alone was $150, the steaks. It must be over $800. $810 to be exact, before tax and tip." I said. "I knew the menu. I had approved the menu. You all seem to be enjoying it." "I don't have that kind of money." Olivia burst out, her voice cracking, her face crumpling. I can't pay that," I assumed. "I thought you thought what I said," stepping closer. "That you could come into my restaurant, order the most expensive items on the menu for yourself and your golden daughters, and then publicly humiliate my son. That you could deny him food, call him background noise, and then just walk out while I paid for the privilege of being insulted." "Brooke, please," my mother Sarah finally spoke. Her voice was trembling. "We're family. You can't do this to us. Think of the girls." "I am thinking of a child," I said, my voice dropping cold and sharp. "I'm thinking of my son, the one you told to know his place. The one you said was just background noise." I looked at Olivia. Her face was a mask of pure terror. The successful daughter, the golden child, utterly, completely exposed. "You said family doesn't let a child go hungry," I said, "but apparently you do. I, on the other hand, don't." "Kenneth is feeding my son." Jenna arrived, her face pale, holding the black leather bill folder. She hesitated, looking at me. "Give it to my sister," I said. Jenna's hand was shaking, but she did it. She placed the $810 bill directly in front of Olivia. "Enjoy the rest of your celebration," I said. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to join my son. You can pay Jenna on your way out." I took Lucas by the hand. "Let's go, sweetheart. We're moving." "Where are we going?" he asked, his voice still small. "To the best table in the house," I said. I led him away from the scene, past the staring diners, to the quiet corner booth by the window. It was table 12, the one with the best view of the city skyline, the one my father had saved for months to sit at, the one I'd always kept reserved, even when we were fully booked. Just because it felt like his. We slid into the booth. Kenneth arrived almost immediately, carrying a tray himself. He placed the $120 Wagyu steak in front of Lucas, followed by a large bowl of truffle parmesan fries. The molten chocolate cake will be out shortly, Lucas Kenneth said, treating my son with the respect he hadn't received all night. Thank you, sir, Lucas whispered. As Lucas took his first bite, his eyes went wide. Mom, he breathed, this is the best food I've ever had. You deserve it, I said, my voice thick. You deserve all of it. From our table, we had a clear view of the rest of the dining room. I watched the drama at my old table unfold like a silent movie. I saw Olivia, her face red and blotchy, arguing with my mother. I saw her swipe her credit card, only to have Jenna shake her head and hand it back, declined. I saw Olivia turn to her daughters, Chloe and Kayla, who suddenly found the floor very interesting. I saw my mother, Sarah, let out a sigh of pure theatrical defeat before digging into her own designer purse and pulling out her own card. She slapped it down on the tray. The $810 bill plus a presumably minimal tip. Jenna processed the payment and the family gathered their things. They didn't look at me as they walked out. They scurried their heads down their perfect celebration, ending in quiet, utter humiliation. After they were gone, the restaurant felt lighter. Lucas finished his steak and was halfway through his chocolate cake when he finally looked up at me. Are they going to be mad at us, Mom? He asked. I reached across the table and took his hand. Probably, I said honestly. They're probably going to be very mad, but I need you to listen to me, Lucas. Their anger is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to know your own worth. I squeezed his hand. Don't you ever let anyone in this world, I don't care who they are, make you feel like background noise. You are not an extra. You are not a supporting role in someone else's story. You are the main character in your own. He nodded, his eyes serious. I know, Mom, I love you, I said, and I'm so proud of you. I love you too. And you're pretty cool, Mom, owning a restaurant, I laughed, the tension of the last 2 hours finally breaking. Yeah, I guess I am. As Lucas finished his cake, I looked out the window at the city, and I thought about everyone else out there who might be listening to this. And if you are listening to this, if you've ever been made to feel like you were on the fringes of your own family, if you were the quiet one, the background noise, the one who was always expected to show up but never celebrated, this is for you. You are not an afterthought, your story matters. Your worth is not determined by how much space other people decide to give you. You don't need their permission to take up space. You don't need their invitation to be celebrated. You are not the background noise. You are the main character, and you deserve to eat at the head table.